Hello and welcome to Charting the Course to Your Good Life, the three-part series. We're on part 2. My name is Deborah Fiasco and I work in the Family and Community Engagement Program here at Special School District. The engagement program or department works to partner with students, families, and staff to support students' specialized academic, social, and emotional needs, and to promote self-determination, equitable opportunities, and authentic inclusion. We really believe that these Charting the Life course tools and the framework helps us in that mission. Today, this webinar is being recorded. Your camera and microphone have been disabled. You may ask questions in the chat button and the host will be able to see that. Other participants will not be able to see your questions. And it is a webinar, but we can't always guarantee confidentiality in this environment. So please do not share identifiable or specific personal information about yourself or your family or your student. If you require additional assistance, please let the host know. Closed captioning has been activated, and a recording of this webinar, as well as last week's, will be available in about a week. Okay. Family and community engagement has many other activities besides just our workshops. We do have one more in this series of Charting the Life course. That's next Tuesday. We have another one about assistive technology in December that we're really looking forward to. We have the Family Cafe, and where families join together and have meaningful conversations about topics that they are interested in. We also have the hub at our North Tech location, and we have various community agencies that come in. We have Castle coming in. They can help with all kinds of things about utilities. The dates are on that flyer, but you can also find all of our information on SSD's website. And we also have the Higher Education Consortium that's coming in from 11 to noon to help people with all kinds of employment-related activities and information. So Charting the Life course, it's Charting a Life course to Your Good Life, comes to us from University of Missouri, Kansas City Institute for Human Development. It was developed by professionals with families to really look at all of the different life areas and life possibilities. It was created for individuals and families of all abilities and ages, like I said, to explore all life possibilities, to be able to share your hopes and dreams and fears. It really does set us up to reach for higher expectations and navigate the future for ourselves or for our students. It helps us plan and problem solve. The Life Course framework is based on various principles. All of these icons represent one of the principles of the Charting the Life course, and we're going to talk about several of them today. The one that's with the person in the middle, there we go. That's one of the tenets of Life Course principles, is that we're always looking to support the person within the context of their family and in their community. And that's what that circle with the person and what that icon stands for. The other one that we talked about last week is focusing on all people. We talked a little bit more about what the green and the purple, but basically people with disabilities are supported financially by government and agency services about 25% of the time after they leave the school system. So we want to use this framework and these principles to focus on everyone, whether they're receiving paid supports or they're working in the context of their family and community. The other two concepts that we're going to talk about or principles is the trajectory. That's the main topic of our conversation today. You'll see that in the very first one. It's a line that goes up, pointing to what your vision for a good life is, and down, what you don't want. And you can see those little icons along the bottom represent, we want to be able to look at all of the different areas in all of these life stages, from infancy up and through aging. And that last, the circle with the person in the context of their family and their community, represents colorfully all of the different principles and how they come together. This is the LifeCourse portfolio. You'll see lots of different versions. I have a bunch of examples throughout the PowerPoint presentation, but this is the main one about exploring for life possibilities. There's the STAR, integrated support STAR, and the one-page profile, which we covered last week. And then the one behind it a little bit is one of the trajectories that we'll talk about today. Just a review from last week, that one-page profile is sometimes the place where we start when we're planning. It captures really the most important thing about a person, what people like and appreciate about me, what's important to me in that second box, and the third box, how best to support me. It gives us an opportunity to have real conversations about all of those things. And with a student, it really gives them a voice and an opportunity to kind of practice that self-determination, to be able to speak up for themselves. We look at what people like and admire about me. What are some of my strengths and interests? What are my talents? Do I have a good sense of humor? Is my personality interesting or engaging? Am I a kind person? Do I have a good work ethic? These are all kind of prompts to help a person or a student really explore what people might like and admire about them. What's important to me? Universally, we see people say my family and my friends. Those are the things that are most important to me. So we always want to have that at the forefront. What are some of the other things that make me happy? What are some of the experiences that I like and want to have? What are my family cultures and traditions? What's important to me? And then how best to support me? Do I have a different communication style? Is there a way to communicate with me that's more helpful to me in learning? What is my learning style? Am I a visual learner? Do I need hands-on learning? Do I need extra time for processing? From students, we'll even hear, I need to sit next to my friend Emily because she's always on the right page and I know I can look over and see where I'm at. So sitting next to Emily always helps me when I'm learning. But it does give us a way to really put on paper what is needed to support me. So then we get to the tenet of Charting the LifeCourse framework, that all people and their families have the right to live, love, work, play, and pursue their life aspirations in their community. So you can see where we've included the all, we've included the person in the context of their family and community, and all of those important things in life, those life areas. So let's work on the goal of a good life, utilizing the Charting the Course Trajectory. This is probably the most simplistic one that we have. It's the person-centered exploring trajectory. There's, like I said earlier, many different variations of it, but this is the simplest one. It gives us two boxes where we start with the vision. What is the vision for what I want? And what is it that I don't want? Many times for our families and even our students and ourselves, sometimes it's easier to start with the things I don't want. I'm pretty clear that I don't want some things, but that vision for what really is going to get me to a good life is sometimes harder. So it doesn't matter where you start, but starting with the vision of what you want or don't want is a good way to do it. And then we look at the experiences. And that's the line that goes up and the dotted line that goes down. The line going up to what we do want, what are the experiences that we need to get to what we want, and then the dotted line for what we don't want. As a sneak preview, that little star on the line is what we'll cover next week, and it gives us great tools on how to get to what we want. So this is another one. It's the planning trajectory, and you'll see this is a little bit more complicated. The center circle on the past life and moving forward is you can put the person or something relevant about the person. But this really helps define the vision, looking at your past life experiences and what you need in the future. So the vision is still the same. What is it that I want? Or what is it that I may not want? I want to stay away from. And then we look at past life experiences and how that influences it. So say I want to take a vacation this summer and I'm going to start planning. So my vision for what I want is to have a great vacation. My past experience last year, I used a travel agent and it was not good. But my past experience a couple of years before that was that I had done my research and worked through it myself and figured out all of the steps. So moving forward, what I might do is go to that past life experience and recreate it. When we talk with students and individuals about past life experiences and what's helped and what has hindered them, it's a great learning experience. And then what we need to do moving forward based on those to get to what we want and to stay away from some of the things that we don't want in life. So this one for planning, you can see it just moves you forward in past and looking at moving forward and in past life expectations. The trajectory is not just for long-term goals. It can be used for short-term, say for a small project like that vacation. It was a 3 months maybe project that I was working on. A really long-term goals like my vision for retirement, what I want to do in 5 years, or what my goal is when I become an adult if I'm a student. They can be short-term. It might be for an IEP period. It might be I'm planning for Thanksgiving dinner and I really want a nice Thanksgiving dinner. So what do I need to get to there? I don't want a burnt turkey. So I know I need a new thermometer because I don't have one. So it's all of those steps that are going to get me to what I want and what I don't want. Again, these are tools. It's more about thinking things through than it is about using the tool. But we do find that writing things down is a really great visual for people. A lot of times it's an aha moment when you write it down, some of the things that you're doing, and you realize some of the things I'm doing are moving me to what I don't want rather than what I do want. The trajectory tool helps plans for the student's vision by exploring different life possibilities. Again, setting high expectations. It's not about minimizing what it is that I want. It's about figuring out what I really want and what might be the steps to get there. It's about helping them navigate their future, and it encourages discussion. That's the biggest thing we find, that it encourages discussion with students and their families about their hopes and their fears surrounding what that student's good life is. Having those rich discussions moves us many, many times to higher expectations and reaching those goals. I like this slide. Never be defined by your past. It was just a lesson, not a life sentence. So when we talk to families, many times the vision for a good life overall, the big one, are pretty universal. Most of the families say, what I want for my child is I want them to have friends. I want them to be surrounded by family. I want them to have enough money to live comfortably in a job that they might enjoy in their own home, have the opportunity for faith-based interests, to be able to take vacation and have recreation in their life, to remain healthy, to have choices and freedom. And what I really don't want for my loved one is I don't want them to live in poverty. I don't want them to be lonely or be segregated or have unnecessary restrictions. I don't want them to have lack of choice. And I don't want them not to have a meaningful life and be bored. So we learn from some of our past mistakes as much as we learn from moving forward. And so that slide, I think, says it. So let's talk about starting to complete and use the trajectory. The first thing we suggest is decide the purpose for your trajectory and begin with the vision. So are we looking at a short-term goal? Like, I would like to make the football team. So if I want to make the football team, and what I don't want is I don't want to not be with all of my friends. What are the steps that I need to take? It could be for the whole football team. We want to learn the state championship. So what's required? It might be more time in the weight room. We might need to run more or eat healthier. So you look at the purpose of what you're filling out the trajectory or why you're having this discussion, and start with your vision. And then explore those steps to reach your vision and the steps to avoid to get you to keep you from what you don't want. We look at the trajectory across the lifespan. Last week, we talked a little bit more about the focus on the different ages and stages. And we talked earlier about the trajectory across like early childhood, school age, and transition to adulthood. These are booklets that help you ask the questions to set those goals and problem solve. As we can see in this slide, what I want and what I don't want remained kind of the same, kind of those big things. But the experiences at age 5 and 13 and 65 look very different about what I'm going to do to assist my 5-year-old or even my 13-year-old in making healthy choices and to have time with their friends. And then looking back on how that affects what they want and what they don't want. And then the experiences at the end of life, not at age 65, but what have you done and what are those past experiences? It's about learning across the life stages and setting those goals that are age appropriate. Sometimes we hear, how do you talk about a good life to a 5-year-old? Ask a 5-year-old. They'll tell you exactly what they want. They want to be Spider-Man or they want to be Elsa from Frozen. They know what their goals are. And many times they know their goals for what they don't want. I don't want to nap anymore. I don't need a nap anymore. And then when we put down their past experiences of, if you don't nap, you're really crabby. And then we don't have a good time. It takes them to what they don't want. So these can be used across every life stage in just so many different areas. So the purpose of the trajectory is really for problem solving, working for broad life goals or specific short-term goals. It's planning those day-to-day activities to reach those goals and being clear about what you don't want and what you want. Understanding how your past life experience have either helped you or become barriers to some of the things you want. And it is about strategic planning and implementation. So here's a specific trajectory for exploring employment. You can see that there are lots of different areas. So somebody might put in there for, say, a student. What is your vision for your job? Most of the time people say, I want to make enough money. Okay, we can put that in there. I want to work with friends or with people my own age. I want to have a fun environment to work. And then maybe looking at the vision for what you don't want. I don't want to work late nights all the time. I don't want to work every weekend. So what has helped you make some of those decisions? Well, I have a friend who works in fast food and they work every Saturday and every Sunday, and I don't want to do that. But I have a friend who works at the movie theater and it seems like they have a great time there. So those are some of the past life experiences that would move you forward to making those steps to reach that goal of what your student wanted in employment. Another example of a trajectory, this one is for healthy living. So I would like to have better health. And in the past, I realized that I will eat fast food if I don't pack my lunch the night before because I'm lazy in the morning. So my past experience has told me I need to really pack my lunch. That's my moving forward. My other past life experience says I'm not very motivated to get out and walk. So moving forward, I might ask my coworkers, would you walk with me at lunchtime a couple of times a week to get me to what I want, which is a healthier lifestyle? Here's an example of Betty, and she is 83 years old. So she worked with her family to figure out what her goals were. She wanted to stay in her own home. She wanted to age in place. She wanted to remain in good health and spend time with her grandchildren and play cards with her friends. And she needed enough money and resources to make those things happen. What she didn't want and what she was afraid of was falling and breaking something, getting sick, or getting into poor health. And she really did not want to live in a nursing home. So she looked at her past life experiences and she was very involved in her faith-based community. That's where her friends were. Her home was paid off. So those were good things to move her into what she wanted, which was to stay in her own home and have friends and be able to spend time with her grandchildren. Moving forward, she would budget to make repairs and make her home safer. And she'd try Uber because I guess she didn't want to drive anymore. When we look at what she didn't want, her husband had recently passed away and there was a family history of dementia. So those were her past life experiences that she was looking at when she was planning for what to avoid for the things she didn't want. And moving forward, she was going to watch for memory issues and be careful about falling hazards. So you can see this tool can be used at any age for so many different things. Our next example is a really simplistic one, and it's done with sticky notes. I love when we do these with sticky notes. I showed an example last week of a sticky note one that was done on the one-page profile. It's not about the tool. It's about the conversation. It's about the planning. It's about being intentional about how to get to the things that you do want. So you can see in this one, they wanted friends. They wanted to be understood, all those different things. Sometimes breaking these down into smaller components and using a sticky note, especially if you're working with a child, of just asking, what is it you want? And then later on, what you don't want, and then problem solving, both past and future. And you can just put it all together. Not about the tool, it's about the conversation. Here's one we used with a group. So these can be used, I mentioned earlier, a football team or a classroom. Say the classroom wants to win Spirit Week. That's really important to them as a classroom. What are some of the things they can do to make sure that they have the best Spirit Week and they win that? This one was used for a group of families that met together about what they wanted from that group and what were some of the things they wanted to avoid. What are some of the things that they really were not there to get? They were spending time as a group to learn together, and they really didn't, there were some things that they didn't want. So we use this to set up some norms about how we would interact with each other, how we would learn, how we would move forward, what were some of the components of what they wanted to learn. And it was the vision for a group of people. We've done this too with sticky notes where we just ask and people write on it and put it where they want as an activity. The next one is just a whiteboard where you're looking at the vision of a good life. It's very simplistic about what you want and how to get there, and you don't like it, you wipe it off. We've got a couple more. Here's one, preparing for the IEP. So you can see that this was a tool used for a 13-year-old. It's a really good tool for a student to be able to set goals and to learn how to set goals. Again, we don't expect a 5-year-old to be able to verbalize and to set long-term goals like a 15-year-old or a 22-year-old. But using this to prepare for the IEP really makes the student's voice heard, and it makes the family empowered to know that the team knows exactly what their goals are for their student or their child and how to move forward in those areas. The next one we have was a senior staying connected during COVID. So they really didn't want to be isolated, and they used the trajectory to really map out the things that they didn't want and what they did want, and the things that were barriers and would help them. Here's one. This is pretty detailed about Ben, and it was also related to COVID. And he and his family broke it into not just what he wanted and didn't want, but the different areas of daily life, about staying busy and not being bored, about staying connected and being healthy. So they can be as detailed as Ben's or as simplistic as the sticky notes or Betty's at 83. Charting the LifeCourse is about conversations, a different way of thinking, having high expectations, and having life experiences that move you to that trajectory of what your desired outcome is. It's not just for professionals, and it's not a program. It's designed to be used by anybody, and not just solely for people with disabilities and their families. Our next and last of the 3-part series is October 18th. We will review the Integrated Support Star. And the Integrated Support Star, as we talked about a little bit in this presentation on the one slide with the trajectory, is problem solving and goal setting, looking at all of these different resources and areas. It kind of pulls it all together, that the Charting the LifeCourse tools can really be used singularly or in conjunction to plan and goal set. If you want more information about Charting the LifeCourse, you can go to the LifeCourse tools. There's all kinds of different tools and examples for this framework. You can also contact us at FACE. Here's our email, face@ssdmo.org. or our main number, 314-989-8460. There will be a short questionnaire survey at the conclusion of the webinar, and we value your feedback and comments to improve our offerings. So thanks for attending Charting the LifeCourse 3-part series, part 2. See you next week.